Now that you have designed your curriculum that has your goal, your learning outcomes, and all of the competencies that your students will achieve, you are now ready to create a course outline. So let's have a look at what a course outline is and how you can start to create yours today. Let's take a look. Hi, my name is Kat Savello from The Stellar Way, and I'm here to help you be able to design, create, and launch an online course. Today, we're going to be looking at that next step after a course curriculum, which is a course outline. And before we do, if you haven't yet created your course curriculum, you can download my free online course curriculum template from the description below. We will be looking at a real course that I have created in my course template, so you can follow along with the template that you've downloaded. And we're going to be looking at how we turn the curriculum into an outline. So that curriculum is where you have your course goal, where you have your learning outcomes, and where you have your competencies. The outline is where we take all of those and we start to map it out. We start to plan out what your course would look like. So it's like taking one competency and identifying all of the lessons that you want. So you may have remembered that when we looked at your course curriculum, one of the steps of your course curriculum is identifying the possible lessons that you can have to help your students and to support your students to be able to achieve the competency. And that is the very beginning of outlining. So let's take a look at my outline. Here I have a course called Agile Course Curriculum, or Agile Course, and this is my curriculum. Now at the top I have my goal, and then I have modules, because this is a huge course, so modules help me to, they're like mini courses within one large course. Now down here I have my learning outcomes. And then along the right here I have all of my knowledge, skills, and abilities, which are my competencies. Now you can watch other videos that talk about all three of those areas: how to create a course goal, how to create learning outcomes, and how to create competencies. I'll have them in the comments below for you, in the description for you below. Also, when you do download this template, at the very beginning you have all of these videos for you and all of these instructions. So let's have a look at outlining. The very first step of outlining is coming to this outline part 1, and all of your learning outcomes are copied across here for you. All your competencies are also copied across for you. So the very first step is simply identifying, for your students to achieve these competencies and in turn achieve these outcomes, what are some possible lessons? What are some possible activities, and what are some possible assessment types to assess that the student has achieved these competencies? And these lessons across the top are purely examples. You can add in extra columns. You can change these however you wish. These are only examples. So in this step, all I'm doing is saying, for students to understand this, I might have a live webinar. I might have an article or blog, and there might be several lessons for a competency, or there might be several competencies for one lesson. So it's a one-to-many or a many-to-one type of relationship. You can have multiple lessons to help the student build one competency, or you can have one lesson that helps the student build multiple competencies. It's completely up to you. Likewise, there's many. You can have multiple lessons that help students achieve multiple competencies. It's up to you and what you feel your students need. We've spoken about this in a video about feedback and how to understand how to support your students. Again, that video is in the description below. And these are some tips on how you can better understand what your students need from you. So this is part 1 of the outline. Then part 2 of the outline is coming into course outline part 2, and this is where we are mapping out everything. I really like mapping everything out like this because it helps me to see the clear student journey or the learning experience that I'm providing to my students, and it helps me to see if I've got everything ordered in the correct way that helps the student build their competencies. It also helps me to see if there's any gaps, and it helps me to identify when I should include instructions. This is a video that I uploaded recently. Again, this will be in the comments below. It can be very easy to go from this course outline and you start to create all of these lessons. And then you don't include any introductions or any conclusions or any assistance to help the student move through their learning journey, such as what will they be learning? What are they required to do? These are the introductions and the conclusions that we should have at the beginning of our course, at the end of our course, and throughout each module as well. So have a look at that video as well. But in this area here, what I'm doing, I've left some blank down here. What I'm doing is I've copied across the outcome. Here is the outcome. The objective or the purpose is also the competency. Okay, so this one here, interpret why curriculum design is important to course creation. We can see that that's in module 4. So in module 4 here, this is the learning outcome, and this is the knowledge. So when I come across here, this part here is only knowledge. These two are only knowledge, which means how can my students start to understand and recognize how curriculum affects the entire Agile processes, how the curriculum design is important to course creation. So I can have a video that describes that. I can also have a case study. Okay, so here I'm selecting different types of lessons and activities. So a case study is really useful to show a current client of what their course looked like at the beginning or what they felt like at the beginning of course creation, and then when using Agile, how that supported them. We can also use a video. So here we can use multiple ones. Okay, usually when I have a new lesson, I will create a new row, because on the right hand side here, I want to start to write out what that case study is going to include. I can write that out here, or like you can see, I can also write comments. So here I have, just to recap, I have my outcome directly coming from my curriculum. I have my outcome here, and then I have my knowledge, which is my competency. So I have 3 different levels of competency: knowledge, skills, and abilities. Remember, if you do not know these, if you're not comfortable with knowledge, skills, and abilities, make sure to watch my videos on competencies, which walk you through these areas, and you can understand the difference between knowledge, skills, and abilities. And in here, I have 2 different knowledge, 2 different types of knowledge competencies, which means I want the student to first interpret. I want them to understand and interpret why a curriculum design is important. Then I want them to recognize how curriculum design is important for Agile. So for this, in knowing my students, I can then come here and say, okay, I'm going to offer a case study. The case study then might be followed by several questions. So I might have a case study, and the case study is then has knowledge questions. Okay, remember these might be one activity or they might be multiple activities. If they are multiple activities, I like to put them on a new line so I can then write about them. So the case study demonstrate a client that did not use Agile and then implemented Agile. What did they feel before? How did they feel after? How successful was their course? Okay, and then I might have knowledge questions or reflective questions. Okay, so here I'm just writing ideas. That's all I'm writing, just writing ideas. I'm not designing anything, I'm just creating ideas. So questions, these might be better to be called reflective questions for the student. Okay, so I might write some examples down. 1, how do you think Agile helped this client? How will Agile help you? Okay, so these are just examples right now that I'm writing down. And I would write this this outline, I would write this over several days. I'm not going to be able to write everything at once. And I might come back to different areas when I have different ideas. As I'm starting to write these areas out, I have ideas. Once the ideas start flowing, more ideas come in, and I go back and forth and change things around, and I cut and paste and change the order of things. And this is the whole purpose of outlining, is starting to map out what your course would look like. And then we will move to lesson planning, where we go deeper into each individual unit and start to outline those individual lessons. So for today, I wanted to demonstrate to you what I do in outlining. To recap, there was 2 steps. The first step is I identify possible lessons, activities, and assessments just by ticking the check boxes of what will be useful. And then the second step is putting everything into a flow. Now, you saw an example flow when I've copied and pasted everything across, the learning outcome and the competencies, and I start to write out possible lessons that I can have and what I would include in those lessons. This is just a very high overview, but what it helps you to do is to map out your course, create a learning journey for your students, make sure that everything is in the right order, that there are no gaps, and also helps you to see where you should have introductions and where you should have conclusions. Each week I post a new video here on YouTube about course creation. If you have any questions of course creation, or if you would like anything demonstrated, let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to create a video for you. Until next time, happy course creating.